Scotland is one of the most beautiful countries we've ever driven through, but it's also very different from driving in the US. In this video, we're taking you on our full road trip from Edinburgh to Inverness to Isle of Skye and back, and showing you exactly what it's like to drive in Scotland, what to expect, what surprised us, and what we wish we knew before we started. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to do here. From castles and coastline views to narrow roads and tiny towns, this is the reality of a Scotland road trip. Getting into Scotland, there are two major airports you can fly into, Glasgow and Edinburgh. They are only about an hour apart, so you can start your trip from either one depending on flights and price. For our trip, we decided to start in Edinburgh. Getting from the Edinburgh airport to the city center is super easy thanks to the tram. It runs every few minutes and takes about 30 minutes and drops you right off in the heart of the city. And it conveniently takes Google Pay and Apple Pay. Once we got into town, we picked up our rental car from Europe Car at the St. James Quarter. Because we booked our car a few weeks in advance, we had no trouble quickly getting to our car and getting on the road, which was great because we had a 3-hour drive to Inverness. Leaving Edinburgh by car can feel a little intimidating at first. There are a lot of roundabouts, bus lanes, and one-way streets. But don't worry, once you follow the signs toward the main highways, it gets much easier. After about 15 minutes, you're out of the city and into open roads. Now, in full transparency, this is not our first time driving in Scotland. 2 years ago, we spent 24 hours driving in Scotland, and that was our first taste of driving on the opposite side of the road. I'm gonna document our driving experience. We are driving on our way to Inverness. Don, what's it like driving this time? Second time around.
Much easier not having to stick shift, but it's still very stressful. Everything is backwards. Doing turns are the hardest because you don't know which side of the road to go on.
Anytime we rent a car, one of the first things we do is connect to Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. One of the main reasons we do this is because
It's something that I'm used to. It's giving something that's normal in a lot of chaos.
before we get too deep into this video, I want to go ahead and address something that will be very important on our Scotland road trip journey, road signs. Throughout Scotland, there are a lot of single track roads, meaning only one car can fit. It's very important to notice these road signs so you know that it's your turn to pull over and let someone else pass. If you pull over and it's not your turn to pull over, it can frustrate some of the local drivers. And if a road is going from a double track to a single track, there will be a sign indicating who has the right of way. Okay, we are in an area. It was like a camera picture on a sign that said speed camera, but said average.
Average speed.
All right, so tell us what average speed means.
So instead of seeing a speed camera and slowing down, then speeding up in between, it is actually taking your time from one to the next and then averaging that speed out. So if you're speeding in between, it will give you a ticket.
Switching over to parking, parking in small towns was one of our biggest surprises. Most car parks either take coins or require a local app to pay. We only had cash, and the app wouldn't work with our US phone numbers. So there were a few cute towns we couldn't stop at because we literally couldn't pay to park. Luckily, in Inverness, there's a big parking garage in the city center which takes credit cards, so we were able to just park there for our entire stay. Inverness was a much smaller city than I anticipated. Everything in the city center is super walkable, which made exploring really easy. One of the things I was looking forward to doing is visiting Inverness Castle. There is Inverness Castle, under construction and closed. So we settled for taking a stroll down the Ness Walk. Inverness.
It's sleepy.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to do here. If you want something quiet, away from like a big city like Edinburgh, then it would be probably pretty nice for you.
Yeah, it's beautiful. There's the Inverness River that runs right through it. It's gorgeous. There's bridges and like stony beaches that you can go visit. It is a little windy and chilly today, but that's Scotland.
And we're on a bridge that is super bouncy.
Yeah, the camera's moved because the bridge is actually shaking up and down as people walk across.
There's also a small Victorian market that's geared towards souvenirs. We stayed at Blackfriars, a small hotel above a pub in the city center. The room was clean and cozy, but it was a little loud because we were right above the main entrance. For food, we had dinner at the Mustard Seed, which is one of the most popular restaurants in Inverness. It gets quite busy, so it's best to make a reservation, and the only way to do that is to send them an email. We also checked out Black Isle Brewing, which had some great craft beer and some unique wood fire pizzas, like black pudding and goat cheese.
So we left this morning from Inverness, down some exciting roads for me to drive on because I do actually love driving. And Kendra was,
Stressed. A lot of it was single lane, so you have these little, what are they called, pass-bys,
yeah, passing spots.
and you have to kind of take turns who's gonna pull over. But it was some beautiful scenery driving here.
You're riding next to these massive locks, and then there's these mountains and no trees on most of these mountains, so you can just see every contour of the mountain.
We also passed by a train, and the conductor waved at John. Was it the
It was
conductor?
not the conductor; it was some
Oh,
passenger.
oh, somebody waved, but John was very excited that somebody was waving.
Here goes. Hey, it's coming. She waved.
Did she?
Out. Oh, and you get lots of waves if you pull over to let people come the other way. So, because they're appreciative drivers.
And John loves to wave at people, so that made him very happy.
It doesn't happen where we're from. People don't wave to you.
On the way to Isle of Skye, we made a stop at Eilean Donan Castle, probably one of the most photographed castles in Scotland. Parking and castle entrance can both be paid by card. The castle sits right on the water, where there are three locks that meet, and even if you don't go inside, the view from outside is stunning. There's plenty of parking on site and a visitor center with restrooms and a cafe, which makes it a perfect stop to stretch your legs before continuing the drive. From there, it's just a short drive to the Skye Bridge. The bridge itself is free to cross and gives you beautiful views as you enter the island. And just a heads up, it takes about an hour to get from the bridge to the main town of Portree, even though it doesn't look that far on the map. One thing we didn't realize before visiting Skye is how limited the food options are. There are only a few restaurants, and many require reservations or have limited hours. We also came across a few restaurants that were sold out of food by 1 o'clock. So, the best tip we can give you is to stop at one of the grocery stores on the island, like the Co op in Portree, and stock up on snacks or meals. The island looks small on the map, but it takes almost 2 hours to drive the full ring road without any traffic. So, planning ahead to go to the grocery store will make a big difference. Now, let's talk about lodging. While there are a few inns on the island, we stayed in a shepherd's hut Airbnb, which is a really common style of accommodation on Skye. It was small but super cozy with a little kitchenette, bathroom, and a big window to look out over the hills. A lot of places on the island are like this. It's private, quiet, and surrounded by nature. Just keep in mind that the weather is constantly changing, so you may be stuck inside for a little bit. We brought some cards to keep us busy. Skye has some dramatic landscapes, and the drives between the destinations are just as beautiful. Our first destination was Kiltarrock, with a waterfall dropping right over the cliffs into the ocean. There's a large parking lot where you can pay to park for up to 2 hours, but really 10 to 15 minutes is all you need. Just up the road from Kiltarrock is Old Man of Store, one of the most famous hikes on the island. You can see it from the road, but if you have time, hiking even a part of this trail gives you amazing views of the rock formations and the coastline. But do note that the hike is a bit more moderate to intense to get to the top. I'm out of breath. I'm ready to take this jacket off. When we started the hike, it was around 8 o'clock, and you can see from here that the parking lot was pretty empty. Well, by the time we came down at 10 o'clock, it was completely packed. So, this is an indication that you should get there early. And if you need to use the restroom, there are some really nice facilities. Another popular spot to visit is Fairy Glen. The road to get there is very narrow, but it has a beautiful bay view. Once on site, there's plenty of paid parking. There are lots of little trails for all different types of hiking levels. No matter which hike you do, you're going to get some fantastic views. We also visited the lesser known Coral Beach, which is across the island. Parking was free here, but it was a very small dirt parking lot that fit maybe 20 cars. A few things to note about this spot was that it was about a 20-minute walk from the parking lot to the beach itself. And the drive there was a little bit scary because it was, again, very narrow roads with very few passing spots. But by far, our most nerve-wracking yet rewarding driving experience in Scotland was across B885 and Isle of Skye to get to the Kerrang.
If you're driving it, it's a very, very tight single lane road with minimal passing spots. So,
And lots of potholes.
yeah.
We did read reviews that lots of people had popped tires going on that road. But it was beautiful. We wanted to go back again this morning, but it is raining, so
And we're going to go to just view it.
Yeah.
We're going to hike it.
Yeah. But it's raining, so we would not have been able to see it anyway. So we're just heading back to Edinburgh.
The drive to Edinburgh should have taken about 5 hours, but we ended up driving through heavy rain for most of the day, so it took about 7 hours. Rain is very common in Scotland, so definitely build in extra time when you're planning your drives. Even though it slowed us down and we didn't get to do some of the stops we wanted to, the scenery through Glencoe was absolutely stunning. Misty mountains, waterfalls everywhere, and kind of the Highland atmosphere that you would hope to see. And honestly, even in the rain, it was one of the most beautiful drives on the trip. And by the time we made it to Edinburgh, the skies had cleared and it was back to sunshine. After dropping off our rental car, we spent our last few days exploring the city, starting off with the city center. Between walking and public transportation, it's pretty easy to get around Edinburgh. It is pretty hilly, so there are going to be a lot of steps, but honestly, it was a lot better than what I was expecting. The castle can be extremely crowded over the weekend, which is when we were there, so we decided to skip it, but there are plenty of chances to view the castle from everywhere in the city. And if you're a Harry Potter fan, there are free Harry Potter walking tours. You just need to book them in advance.
Tom Riddle, the first time we meet him, is an orphan.
You can get to most tourist attractions in Edinburgh in about 25 minutes. For example, the picturesque Dean's Village, or Holyrood Park and Arthur's Seat. Arthur's Seat offers amazing views of the whole city. Just be prepared because it is a proper hike. Lastly, the city of Leith is also only 25 minutes away, and you're not going to want to miss visiting the Royal Yacht Britannia. Personally, this is one of my favorite parts of Edinburgh, seeing where state dinners were held and where Queen Elizabeth slept. There are hundreds of accommodations in Edinburgh, so I won't go into all of those. Just know that we stayed at the W Hotel because we actually found a deal through Marriott and it offered great views from the rooftop. We also stayed at the Virgin Hotels in Edinburgh because it was part of our Arctic trip. If you haven't seen that video, you can watch it here. And just like lodging, there are tons of food options. We really enjoyed the last drop, which had traditional food and music. The Signet Library, where we had afternoon tea. This does require advance reservations. And of course, countless places to grab a pint. And last, if you're going to be there on a Sunday, be sure to try the Sunday roast. Driving through Scotland was one of the most rewarding trips we've ever taken. The scenery is unbelievable, and the towns are full of history. And even though the roads can be narrow and a little bit scary, the freedom of having a car made the experience unforgettable. If you're thinking of doing a Scotland road trip, we hope this video has helped you know what to expect and feel a little bit more confident in planning your own adventure. If you want deeper guides into each stop we visited, we have full vlogs coming soon, so make sure you like and subscribe. Thanks for watching!